And I'm here live doing this review with the letter J. So I'm going to go over
What's
here.
up, B-Dog?
Hi, J-Man. Right, so...
It's your boy, Jay.
Here we
How
go.
many YouTube channels have somebody who starts off saying, it's your boy, something or other?
Well, this isn't one of them.
It's extremely common. Well, it is this time, because I just said it. Take
Okay,
that.
well, not from me. Not from me, anyhow.
No,
Right.
B.
Right. Oh, here we go. Right, based on the short
I'm glad that he looks better in the show than he does in that picture. Because that looks like some really slapped together hair.
Yeah, for this guy here, yeah.
Yeah. It looks like the hair was attached in a very haphazard manner.
Yeah, and he doesn't look like he's taking it entirely seriously.
No, yeah, this was not a. If I'm glad I didn't see the publicity photo before. It would have been tough to take it seriously soon.
Yeah. Right. What did I write about this? Oh, right. Right. I'll do the try and do the Rod Serling voice.
Good luck.
The prostrate form of Mr. David Ellington, scholar, seeker of truth, and regrettably finder of truth. A man who will shortly arise from his exhaustion to confront a problem that has tormented mankind since the beginning of time. A man who knocked on a door seeking sanctuary and found instead the outer edges of the Twilight Zone. Right then, I'll need this and I'll leave all the bits. Well, Jeff and I can alternate because there's rather a lot. During a walking trip of Central Europe, or American theatre standard land, as I call it. Although you have got one British guy in it, it seems. During a walking trip of Central Europe following World War One, Ellington gets caught in a storm and loses his way. Exhausted and on the edge of delirium, he comes to a remote hermitage. It's weird that the hermitage has got quite a few people in it. At first he is turned away, but when he passes out, the monks are forced to take him in. Upon reviving, he hears a bizarre howling, one which the brothers feign not to hear. Drawn by the sound, he comes upon a gentle-seeming bearded man locked in a cell. He has been imprisoned by Brother Jerome, the head of the order, whom the bearded man claims is insane. The prisoner begs to be released. Ellington confronts Jerome, who makes a startling revelation. The creature howling in the cell is no man, but the devil himself. He has been kept there for 5 years, held in place by the staff of truth that bars the cell door. Ellington tells Jerome that he accepts this explanation and pledges not to reveal this secret to the outside world. But as soon as he has a chance, he sneaks away to the cell and releases the prisoner, who immediately transforms into the devil and disappears in a flash of light and puff of smoke. Well, what they needed to have on was some locks to stop humans from opening it, and still have these staff on there. Soon after, World War II erupts. Realizing what he has done, Ellington devotes his life to recapturing the devil. Finally, he succeeds. As he leaves to make preparations to ship his captive back to the hermitage, he cautions his housekeeper to pay no heed to the howling which will issue from behind the door, secured with the tiny staff. That was quite amusing. As soon as he leaves, however, she lifts the small piece of wood anyway. Ominously, the door swings. Well, he needed to have hired an ISFJ because those guardians would have stuck to their duty and not opened it. Ancient folk saying, you can catch the devil, but you can't hold him long. Ask Brother Jerome, ask David Ellington. They know, and they go on knowing until the end of their days and beyond, in the Twilight Zone. Right then, before we go through the rest of all of this, what do you think of it, Jeff?
First of all, when you said the thing about the hermitage, there being quite a few people there, it reminded me of The movie Airheads. Did you ever see that?
Nope.
It's a great comedy movie. But anyway, there's the name of the heavy metal band that's in the that take the radio station hostage. They call themselves the Lone Rangers, and the DJ, played by Joe Montana, says, "First of all, there's three of you. You're not exactly lone." It's just one of my favorite lines I always think of whenever there's like an inappropriate name.
Yeah.
It's the Lone Rangers. There's three of them.
Yeah, and it was good that he said not exactly lone instead of alone, because the lone is funnier.
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually, like, for radio people, that movie is pretty funny because there's a lot of really accurate, like, satire about the way radio stations operate. But anyway, what did I think of this? I had a tough time staying awake, but that's not entirely the fault of Rod Serling and Beaumont and Co. I just wore myself out.
How you wore yourself out might be more interesting in this episode, but I won't press you.
Not really.
Press you.
It's a strength workout, but yeah, not exactly anything exciting, but tiring. I guess this would be what, I could be totally wrong, but I think this might be what's referred to as a morality play.
Yeah, it's like when someone tells you not to look in stuff, you don't look in it.
Yeah, because I think the concept is supposed to be, it's kind of like a parable or
Yep.
whatever that other thing's called. I forgot. Where it's like the kind of the old folktale type of thing, like the one that Trump likes to tell about the snake is one of those. I forgot.
Is it fable?
Maybe, I don't know. Anyway,
I'm looking up the word.
Yeah, but yeah, it's sort of like this. It's a very simple concept of, if you break down the plot, all that really happens is, a guy comes in. They don't really want to let him in, but they do. And then it's, the captive, and it's like, well, the captive, the captive is saying, "Let me go because I'm not a problem," and then they're saying, "Yeah, he's a big problem, so don't do it." And then you have that little test of wills or whatever it is, where the person has to make that decision. So it's like, yeah, those things where the snake or the fox or whatever bites you anyway, or steals the chickens or whatever it is that they're supposed to do.
So, other words for parable besides fable, we've got allegory, and here's one I've not heard before. What did it say? Apologue. I don't know what an apologue is. Oh, that means legend.
Where did you get the mini staff of truth, though?
That was just funny.
Yeah, is it like, that's all that he could afford? Like, he went down to the staff store. Like, yes, we have the finest staffs of truth. Only $8,000. What can I get for $80? Well, we got this one.
Yeah, and
Not
it's like,
hold the devil long, but it's all right.
Yeah, so why can't you put a lock on there to stop the human from opening it when he knows, because he did it himself?
What could possibly go wrong?
Is he really that lazy that he has to have a housekeeper in order to risk someone doing? Like, yeah, that chick on the right. Does she come up to your standards, Jeff? Because I thought you might like her on the right.
In her brief appearance, I was curious as to which one was the sister. I guess they're both sisters, I guess, but which one?
Well, I imagine it's this one.
I don't know. I mean, it could be either one. But
anyway. Usually when it's called something like that, it's usually the one that's sort of crazier, more sort of artisan-ish, and like she's probably more guardian I mean, they're not really going to have a sitcom. Oh, My Sister Eileen, the boring guardian.
Well, I beg to
Possible.
differ because there's plenty of sitcoms named after boring guardians.
I
Like
stand.
My Three Sons. And all three of them were boring.
Okay. I wonder what this was like, this sitcom. Anyhow.
Yeah, you'll have to investigate that, Ben, and let us all know. That's your homework for the week. Next week, you can report back with all the details on My Sister Eileen.
Well,
and we'll see whether it's more interesting than this episode.
Right.
I was confused a little bit, again, partially because I was so tired, because I was like, I kind of didn't follow the beginning, so I was like, where is this supposed to be set? I wasn't sure if it was like he was trying to say he went back in time or what.
This is exactly why they came up with American Theatre Standard, is like to like because like I think it was a British actor playing the devil, rather than a man, but like I think the other guy, the guy with dark, I think he was European. The other guy, the taller of the two, not that one, the other guy.
Well,
this
I definitely
one
recognized his face,
not that one.
When I saw the Carradine name, then I understood why. Because all the Carradines looked like each other.
Yeah, this one here, this guy may have been European. Who was his name? Let's have a look. Oh, good. That guy, Frederick Lederber, or Lederber. And then this, and then did you say you're seeing Cody and other things?
Oh yeah, many things, and his children.
With his oh so convincing wig.
He's the father of David, Keith, and Robert Carradine.
Oh wow.
Yeah, John Carradine. I'm looking up. He died in 1988, so he lived to be 82.
Oh. Right. Okay. Well, we got. So we got the, and then that's just about the director. Well, giving you your knackered, Jeff, I'll read this out. It's going to be maybe we could alternate paragraph by paragraph. The show is an improvement over the original short story of the same name, which appeared in Night Ride and Other Journeys. In the original, a young American tourist falls ill while bicycling through post-World War I Germany and is tended in a remote abbey. There he hears continual crazed shrieking. Investigating, he finds a naked, filthy man being kept prisoner. When he confronts the abbot, he is told that the prisoner is Satan himself. The young man rejects this, and as the delusion of a religious fanatic, and releases the prisoner. Shortly thereafter, World War II breaks out. Finally, after the war, the man receives a postcard from Germany, which reads, "Rest now, my son. We have him back with us again." But whether the prisoner really was the devil is left to the judgment of the reader.
And the other guy, H.M. Wynant,
Yep.
is still alive at 93.
Bloody hell. So that's the guy, him there.
Yep.
Alright. For his Twilight Zone script, Beaumont kept the basic story, except for the fact that the young man became obsessed with the idea of capturing the escapee and sending him back to the Abbey. However, he decided to leave no ambiguity as to the identity of the Howling Man. In the scene where the devil escapes, Beaumont wrote in one visual element, a cloven hoof, that left no doubt. As things went, however, this was never used. Director Douglas Hayes explains, in my literal kind of visual sense, I wanted to see him turn into the devil. I felt that the audience would feel cheated unless they saw that. And Beaumont didn't want them to see it. He just wanted the expression on Wynant's face as he chased after him and reached up as the man went over a wall. And all he wanted was to see the hand touching a cloven hoof just as it went over the wall. When I did the literal translation of showing him visually turn into the devil, Beaumont didn't like that. He liked better the way he had written it, and that was what he wanted to see. But I have a funny feeling as a director. I started as an artist and I like to see things. If I promise the audience something, if I say there are 3,000 Indians on the other side of that hill, I don't want to see one feather poke up behind a rock. I want to see 3,000 Indians. Hayes' literal transformation of Robin Hughes into the devil involved two different approaches. The first occurs as the prisoner steps from his cell. The lightning shifts, and suddenly his face is subtly but dramatically changed. Oh yeah, I'll just say that the lightning and the thunder shouldn't occur at the same time. The thunder should be a little bit later, unless the lightning is really close. Right. The first occurs as the prisoner steps away from his cell. The lighting shifts, and suddenly his face is subtly but dramatically changed. Before his face had looked benevolent, now it looks evil. What has occurred?
Part of the problem was I didn't think he looked that benevolent in his original look. He looked shifty already, so
Yeah, and he had a goatee. Yeah.
To me, it was less convincing because it's like, you know, I feel like they could have been more. I don't know what the right word is. Not innocent seeming, but just I don't know, more desperate seeming, more like he had been abused in some way, and it would be more convincing if the people holding him weren't like didn't have the appearance of some sort of holy order or whatever. Because it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a certain amount of cynicism that I'm not getting with there. That's like saying, well, this guy doesn't trust these people.
They're like
thinks that they are in fact captors.
They're like stand-ins from the Ten Commandments.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying earlier. Is like it seems like they're from another time, so the setting was off to me. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, I just think Charlton Heston, Ten Commandments. I think it's called Ten Commandments. It's but the one with Moses in and
yeah. No, it's the 9 Commandments, man. They didn't like the 10th one, so they edited it.
Yeah, but I can't remember whether the film was called the Ten Commandments or just Moses. I can't.
Yeah, it's called the 10 Commandments.
Right.
I've never actually seen it.
It's a good film. I've seen it twice.
I've been told.
It's an excellent film.
You've seen it twice, but don't know what the title is. I've never seen it, but have no problem remembering.
Yeah, but I saw it twice a long time ago. What has occurred, all in one shot with no cuts, is a complete makeup change. This was done with George Clement's red-green filter trick, which had been used before on Long Live Walter Jameson. And if you want to know, folks, how that trick was done, go see the review of that episode where I go into detail about it.
That was in the first season?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Long Live Walter Jameson. I like that episode, Long Live Walter Jameson.
I don't remember off the top of my head which one that was. But...
That was that one with that guy that, like, you know... Anyway, we don't want to go into detail. There was a good one.
The one with
just
go
watch it. I don't want to give any spoilers.
Well, you don't have about the episode.
Yeah,
but the one with that guy.
It's got a good ending. It's a good one. It's a good
You
episode.
don't have
Better
to
than
say,
any episode in this season
you don't
so
have to
far.
say what the ending was. You could just say like the basic setting or something of who the guy was, because I don't remember.
He's a guy who knows more than he should know. There you go.
Who knows more than he should?
Yeah. The second approach was much more complicated, Hayes explains. I had seen many transitions, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or the Wolf Man or something, in which they would suddenly become immobile and the makeup would change and then they would start moving. I don't want to do that, I said. I want to see him moving all the time and the makeup is changing. I actually like the way they did it, but I don't know how well people will be able to imagine it. But so a little test out there, folks, for your ability to imagine things in this next description. So what we did is that we had a long corridor, and from the time that he started the makeup change, I had him walk very fast down the corridor. At the end of the corridor, he turns and is now transformed completely into the devil, and he dissolves in a puff of smoke. I had the camera on a dolly, so that's a tray it's pulled along on wheels. I had the camera on a dolly, so it's almost like a tracking shot as well. As they've got rails down and they pull it along to give it a smooth tracking shot. I had the camera on a dolly and we timed it so that we ran it exactly the same speed every time, and that's important. Now, between us and him, there were a series of pillars. He would use the entire walk at full speed, and we would go with him at full speed all the way in every makeup. So they would do it multiple times, multiple takes with different degrees of makeup on. But when it was cut together, so splicing together the different takes, but when it was cut together, we would cut from makeup to makeup as we were passing the pillars, so that in the blur of the foreground pillar, which was only a matter of the most split of seconds, he would be in the next makeup, and the illusion was that he was never stopped moving, and the camera never stopped moving. It was just zoom. He flashed down that corridor, and as he was moving very fast, the makeup was. I like all these old techniques where people had to be ingenious and not rely on computers. And it also shows you that when they did have bad special effects, it was because whether that we've seen in other things where they could have done it like this, they could have done it like that. I'm not so sure about this. I'd like your comments on this, Jeff. Sad to say, the final makeup achieved is too literal. With his absurdly long nose, pointed ears, and horns, the devil looks more foolish than frightening. The only makeup that strikes as truly satanic. Oh gosh, the only makeup that strikes a truly satanic mood is the first and most subtle change. Right. So if you tell us what I'm going to try and show that on screen.
I mean, yeah, I guess I basically agree with that, but I don't know if, for kids, whether they would have been frightened by him, or whether I would have been as a kid. I'm not sure. For me, it was at that point. I mean, I thought it was effective as far as visually, like the transformation part. But it was sort of like I figured out about halfway through like what they were trying to do. But honestly, I think I would have actually. I kind of disagree with the director, where I'm like, I think probably would have been better with less. Like they didn't really need the horns on his head, kind of thing. That's like they pretty much already established. Oh yeah, the guy was telling the truth. He was the devil, and so then it just seems a little bit silly when they add the forehead horns. The cape and stuff was enough, I think. Maybe. You still there? Because I can't hear you anymore. Okay. and he's gone in a puff of smoke. It was appropriate to have that visual on the screen. So to reiterate, Colby Jack cheese is pretty good.
What? Okay, cheese. I'll have to listen to that later on if I care enough to find out.
I was saying it was appropriate that you'd had to disappear when the puff of smoke was on the screen.
Well, accidentally good timing, and they just look a little bit stuck on.
Yeah, they kind of look like thumbs.
Yeah.
But to be fair, that he was only on screen that way for a very short time, so he didn't have freeze frame ability in those days.
And not only that, I increased the sharpness on the image in VLC and increased the brightness as well.
How evil of you!
Yeah.
Maybe you're the devil.
Possibly. That was funny. I love that little staff. I might give it an extra point just for the little staff.
Got it at the staff store.
Where did we go? We got to this bit with the he felt so that was an interesting bit where you got the director thinking the audience wants to see it, and then you got the other guy thinking, hey, it just wants to hint at it, but they want to see it if it looks good. Right, okay. I'll get your idea on this bit. Jump in whenever you feel like it. Despite this, The Howling Man succeeds as a gloriously melodramatic piece in the mould of all those simply awful but wonderful horror films of the 30s and 40s. The prologue sets the tone as David Ellington, Wynant in very convincing age makeup, says to the camera, I know it's an incredible story. I, of all people, know this, and you won't believe me. No, not at first, but I'm going to tell you the whole thing. Then you'll believe me, because you must. You must believe. Dissolved to a flashback, and a much younger Ellington arrives at the Hermitage. So did you think it was gloriously melodramatic or just melodramatic?
No, I mean the thing is, it doesn't go too far enough either way. Like it's not entirely like able to be taken seriously, but it's not like goofy or like cheesy enough to be that.
Have you got in your mind sort of like that film Young Frankenstein, which was sort of done in black and white as well?
But I mean, I know what the kind of movie they're talking about, and this is not like it's not over the top enough to be that.
Yeah, it's like there's like those what was it, 1930s Universal Frankenstein films, and they sort of use clips from it in Doctor Who, the TV movie when they did it in '96 with Paul McGann. Those kind of films, because it was shown on Universal. They had access to the Universal Frankenstein films. John Carradine. Ellington may be the main character, but the real star of the show is Brother Jerome, John Carradine, head of the Order, a man who dresses, sounds, and acts like Moses. Yeah, I thought he would acted better than Ellington. Casting Carradine with his basso voice and commanding presence was an inspiration, says Hayes. That was one case where John Carradine was able to do his stuff full out because it called for it. In this case, I said go because this guy is weird, wild. All right. As with The Eye of the Beholder, which is the next episode, Hayes decided that the Howling Man required elaborate camera movements. Throughout much of the piece, Ellington is in a state bordering on delirium. Hayes decided that the camera should reflect his inner lack of equilibrium. What's that tapping, Jeff?
Huh?
What's that tapping? What's that noise?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, good. Okay. Hey, I can't concentrate with that little tapping noise.
I'm not doing it. I promise.
Well, what's that? What's that?
It sounds like it's coming from your end. It's like a little crackle.
Okay.
So you tell
Right.
me what that is. I don't know.
Okay.
It's like your part of the video is being played on an old record.
Okay. Right. Hayes decided that much of the camera should reflect his inner lack of equilibrium. As a result, whenever Ellington feels dizzy, which is quite often, the camera tilts severely. If he's walking and the camera is tilting one way, when he turns a corner, the camera tilts in the opposite direction. Although this effect was difficult to orchestrate, requiring 2 operators on the camera, it proved well worth it. The mood produced is a disquieting one, queasy and disorienting. An aspect of the show which caused some concern was the howling, which in the end sounded more like a dog than a man. The howling... Did I actually do that one? I think so. Yeah. The howling aspects of the thing were hard to sell, Hayes recalls. Now, when you mention howling in a story, you hear this crazy howling off in the distance all the time. This man in the cell is howling. That's all right in a story. Very hard to translate to the screen. It's hard to believe that the man who is in that cell would make those howling noises. I don't think we ever actually saw him howling. We only heard him, because to see him howling would have been very, very hard to buy. That's interesting. It does make me think when this book was originally written, say 1982, and then it was this second edition, 1989. And then he says there, I don't think we ever saw him howling. That sort of makes me think, well, they didn't have all these episodes on sort of video to sort of show these people. And I don't know if they'd been released on VHS by then. Because to see him howling would have been very, very hard to buy. Yeah. A visit to the set at the time was
Beaumont. That
Beaumont.
would have probably made it goofier, yeah.
Yeah. A visit
But
to the
maybe that would have been closer to what he was saying about it being a melodramatic horror movie from the 30s or whatever.
Yeah. You have to be a good actor to sort of do it. I think Daniel Day-Lewis could have done it. He would have done that. You will believe that this man is howling. Sort of like you will believe a man can fly with Superman. A visitor to the set at the time was Beaumont's friend William F. Nolan. I wonder what the F is. William F. Nolan. I remember how concerned they were about the kind of cries and howlings. How demonic to make them, says Nolan. So they played endless tape recordings of howls to see which howl they liked the best. And they'd sit around and say, well, that howl is not satanic enough, and that howl is too high. It's almost like a woman. And maybe if we took that howl and this howl, we had a big howl session. So, and the final paragraph is, one aspect of Beaumont's script that Douglas Hayes was sure wouldn't work was the prop that all the brothers in the Hermitage were supposed to carry, a large wooden cross. I said, Chuck, I'm worried about them having the crosses, because the minute you do that, you make them some sort of Christian sect. And the minute you do that, you're in danger from all kinds of religious groups who resent the fact that you're using a Christian symbol. So I said, let's find something else. And I substituted the staff for the cross, which he didn't like either. I like the staff more than the cross. I think it's a little bit less in your face.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that you have the devil already achieves the, every religious group can say you're not depicting the devil correctly. So I don't see, but yeah, I guess the cross would make it even more specifically Christian. Yeah, that aspect does seem fine to me. Other than just wondering what store you get your staff of truth at.
Here's a comment from.
Reminded me from when I was a kid and I went to vacation Bible school thing at St. Thomas Church, and the priest there at the time told the story of Zacchaeus, who climbed the tree to see Jesus, and the way he said it is Zacchaeus went to Walmart and bought a tree.
That sounds like a substitute.
Actually, I think he said Kmart originally, but
that's like a substitute kind of person. Like they've not got the proper religious leader on the camp, and so they're bringing the substitute teacher.
Yeah, well, he wasn't. That wasn't the substitute. He was the main guy.
Was he like a '60s generation? I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Older than that. Yeah, he was already in his 60s in the 80s. So.
Right. Okay. So this is the first comment by Retro Gamer before we came live on air. He haws and neighs and thumps. Are you sure it's a human being, Retro Gamer? He haws and neighs and thumps. Look at a little horse up there. Now, I think Retro Gamer has INTP preferences. I think he stated that elsewhere. I'm not just putting that. I'm not just sort of basing that on that. Right, what have we got here? So, unless Retro Gamer's got another comment, because I don't mind taking them, I give this one 5 out of 10.
I'll give it a 6.
Right, I'll write that down. Right. Right then. Do you want me to say what I think of the next week's episode?
No.
Okay, I won't then.
But you can say the title of it if you want.
The title is The Eye of the Beholder.
All right. Join us next week for Bandaged Up Guy. I mean, The Eye of the Beholder.
And then you'll find out how good I think it is. Or not, as the case might be.
Ben's special report on My Sister Eileen.
Oh, yes. Oh, get on the case.
Okay.
And here we've got here, this is some information from, so we've got some comments from Roger Gamer. If Jeff is a libertarian, how does he view Trump offering state money as an insurance cover for sufferers of coronavirus? That's a separate podcast.
I'm against it.
Right. Because the states can do it, and also there's enough people in the United States to give money to charity for it. Even Jesus loves the devil.
That is true.
Right then. That's how good Jesus is, right?